Hello, everybody, on this Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Karen, and the talk this evening is part of the activities of our Center for Spiritist Studies, Camille Flammarion, called Neg Hafla, here in Brussels. So, warm welcome to everyone, and especially to those who are joining us for the first time. So, we hope you're all keeping well and in good health. And will perhaps find some inspiration in the talks and information that we offer here. And I would like to first give you a short overview of the activities that our group offers at this stage and in what format. As we're all aware, at this stage we're not able to meet physically in our premises, what we would have usually done in pre-COVID times. But we're continuing our activities online as best as possible. And every Tuesday evening we have a talk, some reflections about a topic that the Spiritist philosophy offers. And we also have those talks in other languages. And I just share that with you, just a second, so you can see that better. To give you an overview, we do have activities in French also, every Monday evening, 7 p.m. And in Portuguese, Saturdays, 5 p.m. As I said before, all those talks are given online nowadays. And as long as this is necessary, you can either follow them on our YouTube channel or on Facebook. And also, one activity that I would like to highlight, which I find very important during these times, if you need to talk to someone about any topic that worries you, we offer what we call a fraternal conversation, where we really are open to listen to you, whatever might worry you, be it a spiritual issue, anything else. If you need to talk, please contact us either via email, info@neghafla.be, via our Facebook account, neghafla.asbl, or via WhatsApp 0492 859 981. And then you can book an appointment, and we will listen to you and also try our best to help. All this information and much more can be found on our webpage, also neghafla.be. Okay, so coming to the topic of this evening, the idea is to reflect a bit about reconciliation, a very important topic of key importance, I believe, for all of us, for our general well-being, for our relations, for the atmosphere we work in, we live in. But before we start, let us start with our initial prayer, as we usually do that. And I continue with the idea that Bispo initiated to share some beautiful landscape with you in order to concentrate, which again is a very beautiful autumn reflection here in Brussels last weekend. So let's calm down for a second and try to elevate our thoughts, try to leave all worries behind, and just concentrate on this moment where we can connect with each other, where we can connect with our mentors, and reflect a bit more about our spirituality. We ask God for guidance for this evening, for inspiration, and also for assistance for all those who are in need of help. Maybe understand a bit more about the importance of forgiveness, of reconciliation in our life. So be it. Now I'm trying to find my way back here we are. And continuing with our topic. So if we open the news, any form of media, we every day we face many conflicts, information about conflicts worldwide, conflicts between nations, conflicts between groups of people, conflicts between two people that lead to very severe consequences. And this is something we face all the time, but not only on that level, but also on a personal level. We are aware of, or many of us can surely remember a situation where we had been in conflict with someone, be it more open or be it more subtle. And why do I recall these situations? Because I think we all agree that whenever we are in such a situation where we are in discord with someone and are not really able to find our way back to reconciliation, that is it weighs on us. It doesn't feel good, and we are anything but at peace. So this is why I would like to invite all of us to reflect a bit more about this topic, and on what the Spiritist philosophy tells us about it, or on some of the aspects, because it's a very complex issue, obviously, and I can only reflect on a few aspects. So how can the Spiritist teachings help us in this respect? The topic of reconciliation is the title of an item in the Gospel according to Spiritism, one of the basic books, and actually the moral guidelines that the Spiritist teachings offer us. It's in chapter 10, which is called Blessed Are the Merciful, and called Reconciliation with One's Adversaries. And it starts with the famous words by Jesus: "Be reconciled as quickly as possible with your adversary, while you are on the way with him." And before I go a bit further on that topic, some time ago, Daniel held a talk about forgiveness, which is also being focused on in that same chapter in the Gospel. And it's still available on our YouTube channel, so I can highly recommend that to see that again. And I would just like to mention a few aspects of that chapter, because it's very much related, obviously, forgiveness and reconciliation. And no, there's no reconciliation without forgiveness, right? So what the title of the part of chapter 10, item 1 is, that talks about forgiveness. It says, "Forgive so that God will forgive you," and that already actually summarizes a lot, because it reminds us of one very important fact, that all of us, we are imperfect, obviously. We're all here in order to learn, to progress, and all of us make mistakes. And very often, because of our own mistakes, we need to ask for forgiveness, don't we? And how shall we ask for forgiveness really truly if we, on the other hand, are not ready to forgive those who might have harmed us, be it intentionally or not? So this is a very important point, I believe. And chapter 10 starts really with giving us a good overview about the importance of forgiveness. And what Allan Kardec does in this book, or in this text, is he reminds us that mercy, because the chapter is called Blessed Are the Merciful, mercy consists in forgetting and forgiving offenses. Forgetting and forgiving, not just saying, "Okay, I forgive you," but deep down we're still grumbling about what has happened and are still looking at the other person with that focus on how negative they acted, and whoops, they did it again, and see, I told you, rather than trying to really forget it and overcome it. Hi, Jan. Happy to see you. Good evening. Bonsoir. And also, Alain Kardec mentions that forgetting offenses is a sign of moral progress. Because if we think about it, why are we here? Why are we here ultimately incarnated? Why are we passing through this chapter here on Earth? Our purpose is to develop, to improve ourselves, to progress, right? And one very important aspect is that we need to learn to love one another, and to overcome all our imperfections. And not being able to forgive someone for any kind of offense is really still a big obstacle for our progress. And we have this chance. We have been, we have incarnated again, and as we learn, usually we are surrounded by those, or many of the people that surround us are connections from past lives, and often those people who challenge us the most, those with whom it is more difficult to keep calm and to be tolerant, are often those whom we've had quarrels with in the past. And we get a new chance, be it through incarnating in the same family, be it colleagues at work, neighbors, friends. We get a chance to overcome our difficulties and to forgive one another, and to learn how to love one another. So this is one of the main purposes, and one of the main objectives of one incarnation, that we're here in order to forgive certain people. So our progress here on Earth is both focused. We're here to learn, to develop our intellectuality, to learn more, obviously, and that is something we have been doing quite well, I think, our humanity. But on the moral point, the other aspect of progress, we still need to put a lot of efforts onto learning how to love one another, because the law of love is the universal law. And sometimes the situations or the chances that we get in order to forgive one another, these are the most challenging situations in our life. But on the other hand, as we learn, we will not progress unless we have learned those lessons, and if we do not succeed to rebuild a certain relationship, to overcome our rancor. I don't want to use the word hatred because that's really, really strong, but any kind of negative feeling we might have towards someone, as long as we have not really succeeded in overcoming this, we will have to return to the lesson again, and we'll meet again until we have learned it. So that's the same aspect as we have in school. We have to return that lesson. Hi, Joaquin. Good evening. Exactly. Yeah, it's really a key topic. I think very, very important, as you mentioned, Joaquin, in your comment. And as I started to reflect a bit about it, I thought really this is, well, without trying to understand how important it is, we cannot get very far on our pathway, right? So, and also in that chapter 10, talking about forgiveness, you'll find this very famous sentence where Jesus explains, or he has been asked, so how many times shall I forgive my brother when he has sinned against me? Up to 7 times. No, Jesus answers, I do not tell you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times, 7 times, for each and every offense. Just saying that, of course, we should not be here counting the many, many times we have tried to forgive someone, but it has to really become natural, and we just have to learn to forgive as often as necessary, until we do not need to forgive anymore because we do not feel offended anymore. So let's acknowledge our position as a spirit in progress, and acknowledge that the other persons are as well in that same position, and that we all make mistakes, and we need to be tolerant towards one another. And maybe it can help us to put our focus a bit more on different aspects of some person who challenges us, trying to find positive aspects in that person, focus on these, and find out that it might actually be someone who's just like anyone else, trying their best and struggling, as we all do. And another important aspect that I think when we have this kind of resentment and cannot overcome those struggles and really forgive someone, this can even cause illnesses. We feel that way, right? Don't we? If you are able to forgive, then it is a true liberation. We feel it really from the heart. We feel light. And as long as we're not able to do it, we can try to ignore it, but we will not really find peace of mind. So even if it's difficult for us to forgive, I think even looking at it from a very selfish perspective, if it was only for our own peace of mind, it would be worth investing in that and reflecting more about it. And another aspect before I go back to reconciliation, as we learned, we're here in a situation where we still have to learn a lot of lessons, and where we still have to go through many trials in order to progress. And often those that we consider as our adversaries, they're acting as the instruments for those trials, which doesn't make someone's actions right if they're against the universal laws. But God would never accept anything to happen that hasn't a reason to be, or that we shouldn't have to go through. So this may perhaps also help us to be ready to forgive someone, to see them really as instruments who actually help us. And if we would be able to see the whole picture of our needs, what do we need to learn, what do we need to overcome, then we would certainly thank some people for the lessons they have offered us. And when we then go from forgiveness to reconciliation, going further in chapter 10 in the Gospel according to Spiritism, this goes then one step further literally, because the sentence really goes, be reconciled as quickly as possible with your adversary while you're on the way with him. And why is that so important? Allan Kardec explains it to us. I just read that sentence to you. Hi, Alice. Good to see you. In the practice of forgiveness and the good in general, there is more than a moral effect. There is also a physical effect. We know that death does not free us from our enemies. In their hatred, vengeful spirits often pursue beyond the grave those against whom they harbor rancor. And this is a very serious piece of information. And it's natural. We are spirits in our essence. We are temporarily incarnated in this physical body. But when we leave it, when we return to the spiritual realm, when we discarnate it, we do not change our character. We do not become all of a sudden enlightened if we haven't been enlightened already. But we continue the same way. And if we have really some serious struggle with someone, this will continue. And when we have enemies, I don't like to really call anyone an enemy, but adversaries perhaps, who is in the spiritual world and whom while we are incarnate, many of us would not be able to see, and it's easier for them to influence us in a negative way, to attack us, because we're not really aware of it. We can only feel the consequences. And this is actually, as the chapter explains to us, if we are not able to dissolve our dissensions, our discords, if we are not able to reconcile, while we have the chance to do so, while together on the way, This is the cause of most cases of obsession, not just some, but most cases. And especially those that have a certain gravity. And Allan Kardec continues, obsessed and possessed persons are therefore almost always victims of a prior revenge, which they probably caused by their conduct. From the point of view of one's future peace of mind, it is important to repair as quickly as possible the wrongs one has committed against one's neighbor, and to forgive one's enemies in order to eliminate before death all motives of dissension and all causes based on ulterior animosity. I think this is very, very serious from all points of view, because not only from the viewpoint of our peace of mind, but also knowing that there is someone who is suffering in the spiritual world because we were not able to reconcile. Rather than being able to move on their pathway, they're still attached to us and we're attached to them. And we cannot dissolve our dissensions that easily. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Hi. And the Spiritist literature offers us many examples for such situations where neither the incarnate person can find peace, nor the spirit who is still full of negative thoughts against that person. So reconciliation is really key to our mental health, all of us, and it's really important to try our best. I think as long as we have the chance to be together with someone on our path, and we never know how long this we do have this chance. So putting no pressure, but I think it's the importance is it's really obvious. So it may be challenging, but it is necessary also for our evolution to learn to love one another. As the famous sentence of Allan Kardec says, also here, that can be found also here in the Gospel according to Spiritism: without charity, there is no salvation. And charity is ultimately love put in action. So forgiveness, which includes a lot, of course, it's a very vast field, but forgiveness and comprehension are certainly part of that, and this is something we will have to learn. And there's one aspect which I find very important to remember as well. If sometimes we may have the best of intentions and try really to overcome such a situation, try to reconcile, try to change our behavior towards someone and approach them in a friendly way. But there may be situations where the other part does not want to reconcile at that moment. And there's a very helpful message, I think, in the book Our Daily Bread, which is actually, which I would like to recommend as well. These are all uplifting messages or edifying messages by the Spirit of Emmanuel, based on short texts of the Gospel. And there's one which talks about reconciliation and which reminds us that sometimes we are trying our best, but we are still not able to reconcile because someone else is not ready yet and doesn't accept it yet. But he really encourages us to not lose faith in that sense that we would then give up and kind of go back to all those negative feelings that we had before, but that we really continue, do our share on that, do our part. And he says, correct your past errors as much as possible, make every effort to display your persevering goodwill, and insist on kindness and understanding. And also to remember us, if the other person is unmoved, we have been that way maybe in the past as well, or it may still be difficult for us nowadays. But he really says, do as much good as possible, because this will really help us to reconcile with our own conscience, and this will be taken into account. Because when we're talking about evolution, about progress, our moral progress, if you have these good intentions, this is actually what it takes. And if someone else is not ready yet, at some stage they will look back and say, "Oh, of course," and try to fix it then later on. But we will really have to continue that path, no matter what happens on the other side, or on the side of the other person. That should not discourage us really on trying to put our best intentions into practice. And when we talk about trying to be more tolerant and trying to be more understanding, I would like to also come back quickly to our current situation that we're living in, very much isolated, in very challenging situations for all of us. I think tolerance and trying to be more comprehensive is more important than ever. For example, last week, the media here in Belgium addressed the impact that the second wave of infections of COVID-19 causes on the mental health of population here. So we could see that in newspapers and on TV everywhere. That was based on a study made by the University of Antwerp. And the findings were really that the second wave that we are still in weighs even heavier on the mental health of the population here than the first wave, which has already been a bit difficult. So we really see this situation is challenging for all of us, no matter in what way. And there are so many ways that people can be affected by it. But we're all struggling with it somehow. And this also leads sometimes to situations where we're not acting the way we would like to, or where someone says something that can be completely misunderstood, although there was no negative intention behind. So what I want to say is let's try to recognize that everyone is struggling somehow with that situation, and that it doesn't help if you complicate the situation even more by kind of saying engaging in quarrels and discord, which we see very easily happening, more easily, even more than before, I think, just because the situation is so tense. But yeah, let's try and see in the other person also someone who's struggling just as we are, and try to not take all the words really literally that sometimes are being said. So in general, but when we talk about that, we do not really know what goes on inside someone's mind and inside someone's heart. And I think if we could, that would make us much more understanding, much more generous, much more merciful, and prone to forgive. I once saw a very short video on YouTube, I think 4-minute video, that is called "If You Could See in Each Other's Heart." And it shows people in everyday situations with just having kind of label which tells you what situation they are currently in. And for everyone, you would then, if you know what is going on in their life, you become much more understanding, you feel sorry for them, or whatever situation it may be, or you kind of feel with them. And in such a situation, if you know why someone is kind of crashing into us without noticing, or saying something without really being very considerate, if we know what goes on, then we would not really put that much importance on many things that happen, or would be more tolerant. And this is actually what happens. We just do not know what's going on inside other people usually. So if we would also reflect a bit about that, I think it can help us to focus a bit more on that goal that we ultimately all have, in trying to live more peacefully and trying to be more in harmony with people, don't we? As we are, today is the 24th of November, so we have exactly 1 month to go to Christmas. And I would like to conclude the reflections with one of the most beautiful and impressive stories of reconciliations that I have heard of, which is the so-called Christmas truce of 1914. I think many are aware of it or know about it. But just summarizing it for those who may not have heard about it yet. So that happened in the first year of the First World War, actually here on Belgian territory, on the Western Front, where German soldiers were fighting with the Allies, and well, Christmas. It was Christmas time, and the story goes that on one side you had German soldiers in their trenches, and on the other side, not very far away, but really in a distance where you could hear one another, were mainly the British soldiers and also allied French and Belgian soldiers. And as it was Christmas, although there had been orders to, of course, continue the fighting, at some stage German soldiers started singing Christmas carols because it was Christmas Eve, and they were putting up Christmas trees on top of their trenches, Christmas trees that they had received from back home, and then they started singing. And at some point, the British soldiers joined them in singing Christmas carols. And at some point, so first it was German singing German Christmas carols, and then British soldiers singing British songs. And then at one point, the story goes that the Germans sung Silent Night in German, and then the British soldiers joined in English, and so they were able to sing together the same Christmas carol, the same people that just days before had fought against each other in a very ugly war. And then the next morning on Christmas Day, actually the German soldiers emerged from their trenches and called out Merry Christmas to the other soldiers, and they were really they were actually having Christmas together, singing together, and exchanging even gifts. At some stage, playing football and commemorating that very special time of the year together. Because I think this really shows that in our essence we're all human beings who just who appreciate that state of fraternity and of peace. And we are able to reach that. With that story, I would like to conclude today and to thank you for your patience, for your comments. Really good to be with you, and I hope this can help us all. And just adding, I'm not talking or reflecting about it because I would be best placed to give a lecture about it, but it really helps me also to reflect on any kind of everyday situations where we are challenged to be a bit more understanding towards our neighbors. Okay, so let's finalize with our final prayer. I will try and get back to that slide with the beautiful landscape in Watermole 4, actually. So let's be grateful for the opportunities, for all the teachings that the spiritual philosophy offers us for our own progress. Grateful for all the inspiration we received, for the opportunity of connecting with all of you. And I would like to invite everyone to send our best vibrations out to all those who are in need, that everyone who is struggling at this moment may receive the help possible. And may these vibrations of love and peace reach as many people as possible, helping us to go through these challenging times. so be it. So thank you very much, and take care, everyone. Next week there will be a new talk. So thank you. Bye bye.